a Chris Anderson, che è editor in chief di Wired Magazine, e la sua provocazione in realtà probabilmente ci racconterà delle cose ancora una volta molto poco provocatorie, molto interessanti dal punto di vista del business e del nostro futuro. Prego, grazie ancora.
Thank you. Good morning. I apologize for speaking in English. It's the only language I know. Thank you, IAB for allowing me another opportunity to visit beautiful Milan, to visit with my friend Riccardo Luna, the editor of Wired Italia. Thank you for distributing this beautiful magazine to all the conference attendees. I think I'm here to apologize for this cover. What I'll try to do is explain what we're seeing and maybe go beyond the cover and get into the real trends of what's going on. The web, what is the web? The web is an idea. The web is an idea that was developed by Tim Berners-Lee in 1989, released to the world over the years 1993 and beyond. The web is a protocol, HTTP, port 80, HTML, browser. But the web is not the internet. The internet started earlier, in the 1970s. The internet is everything. The internet is forever. The internet is the revolution. The web is one application that uses the internet, and it has been the lens with which we've seen the internet for nearly 20 years. But there's a battle now over this lens. There's a battle over the idea of the web. The web was conceived as an open protocol that would encompass all communications and content, that everything would be absorbed by the browser and be open to everybody through links that were permanent and an access that was guaranteed. And as the internet has evolved, and as devices like the iPad and the phone have emerged, they have challenged the open model of the web and are creating a closed model that the consumers are choosing. And this battle over the future of content on the internet is what we're talking about here. The three horsemen of the apocalypse are, for the web, is the phone, the rich media device, Apple iPhone in particular. This is a device that has created not only the notion of mobile internet, but the app, the iPhone app, as the model of consumption. That the apps are the way you receive information on the iPhone, and apps are closed. Apps are a world that Google cannot see. The apps are being selected because they make use of the interface more effectively. They are specialized software for a specialized device. The iPhone has a small screen and has no keyboard, no mouse, and so you need a very, very well-designed interface to allow people to consume data. And the genius of Apple is to customize their interfaces for simplicity and ease of use. These have been successful because it's what people want. People want things to be easy and fast and beautiful. But they come at a cost, and the cost is breaking the open protocols of the web. Google cannot see data in apps. If the web is the world that Google can see, the iPhone is a world that is invisible to Google, which is why they created Android, to create their own world that they can see. The second horseman of the apocalypse is the introduction of the internet into the living room. I'm showing you an Xbox 360, but there are many other set-top boxes, other game consoles. All of them use the internet for communications and to distribute data and for multiplayer gaming, but they don't use the web. another world that Google can't see. And the third is the rise of the tablet, which I'll talk more about in a few minutes. But you know, this may be the next great computing platform. This may replace laptops for many people. This is also an app platform. It has a great web browser, but it is increasingly being treated as a platform itself. And content is being created for this platform, sold or distributed via the iTunes store. And again, it's a world that Google can't see. This too uses the internet, but increasingly the data on it doesn't use the web. On the web itself, you're seeing another trend, which is breaking the idea of the web, the open idea. Facebook is a world that Google can't see. It's closed. Twitter increasingly is being used via apps, not by the Twitter website. Increasingly, it's a world that Google can only see in a limited form. And then the rise of paywalls. As more and more professional content goes behind paywalls, this too risks being a world that Google can't see. So even on the web, we are seeing the rise of the fragmentation of the community, the fragmentation of information, the increasing rise of barriers and walls that interfere with the fundamental notion of the web. And every one of them, in our argument, contributes to the death of the original concept of the web. I need at this point to say very quickly that I hope this stops. I don't want the web to die. I am a web guy. I hope the web will live. I hope that we will find a way to reintroduce openness, to reintroduce end-to-end connectivity, connectedness, interconnection into these new models that both allow for, you know, the combination of all people and all data on one platform and business models for companies to use. But the trends are not going that way right now. So I hope I'm wrong, but let me tell you what trends we're seeing. This is the chart that we used in the article originally. And what you can see here is we're looking at data traffic. And what you see is that the web, which is the red part on the bottom, is a shrinking fraction of traffic on the internet. What's taking its place is things like video and gaming and Skype and peer-to-peer file trading and other uses of the internet that aren't the open web. Now this is just traffic. Now, why does traffic matter? Remember, all traffic is rising. So why does it matter what proportion of traffic is web? And the argument is that, on some sense, this correlates to time. That this reflects the time that we spend. And as we spend more time in closed platforms, we're spending less time on the open web, in the browser, in the world that Tim Berners-Lee originally conceived. Now, it's not a perfect metric. You know, video consumes more data than text, and so obviously it's overrepresented here. But, you know, if you believe that this, on some sense, does reflect shifting consumer preference, shifting consumer time, then you would be right to worry about the web. Here's some newer data that just came out in the last couple of weeks. This just shows what the traffic looks like in the United States during the day. This is from Sandvine, and from the morning, you know, from midnight through the day, you can see that real-time entertainment has become the greatest driver of traffic. Real-time entertainment in the United States is primarily video streaming, and there's a company in the U.S. called Netflix, which is now shifting our television watching from broadcast to streaming video, from DVD to streaming video, from theater to streaming video. It also has things like Xbox Live, PlayStation Live, and all of the online multiplayer gaming. So these are all, again, worlds that Google can't see. These are not the web. These are closed environments. Increasingly, they're chewing up more and more of the bandwidth. In prime time, Netflix alone represents 20% of the internet's traffic. Here's a data that shows you over time that looking at the peak time of traffic, that is sort of the evening periods, between last year and this year, the internet, the web, has shrunk from 39% to 20% of the internet's traffic in the United States. This again is driven by the rise of streaming and multiplayer gaming, streaming video, multiplayer gaming. But that's quite a striking thing. What we're seeing here is everything that isn't blue is a closed network. It is using the internet, but it's not using the web. It's not the open web as we define it. If you're worried, if you believe that the open web is important and is the future, then you need to worry about that trend. However, maybe not here. These are the European numbers. And as you can see in Europe, where you don't have Netflix streaming, you'll see the web is still growing a little bit. Now, what's growing even faster is, so this is real-time entertainment. The web browsing is the blue, and you can see that's doing very well. Real-time entertainment is not as strong here, for whatever reason, whether it's copyright or the broadband networks. So maybe the European picture is different. Maybe the web is alive and well here, and this is strictly an American problem. We don't yet know. As we shift from open networks to closed networks, we see different strategies emerging. As I said, the web is built around the browser. Everything's in the browser. The closed networks are being driven by Apple's strategy of apps. We see the notion of syndication on the web, like RSS and APIs, being driven to a model of subscriptions, where there's a monetary transaction. People have to buy and pay for content. Google dominates the open web, but increasingly, as more and more of the web, like Facebook, is closed to Google, we have questions. If Google can only search the world outside of Facebook, is it still searching everything? Is it easier for Facebook to add search outside of Facebook plus search inside of Facebook than it is for Facebook to find some way to get access to the data, than it is for Google to find access to the data inside of Facebook? In other words, who's going to win this battle? Is Facebook, in some sense, the web for many people? And if so, what does that mean for the fundamental principle of openness? Facebook is a closed platform, or semi-closed platform. They decide what's open and what's not. My last book, Free, was about the two models, competing models of ad-supported free, which is the world many of you are in, and freemium, which is the world that we're increasingly in on the iPad. Freemium is a combination of free content that is used to market paid content, where you get a sample and then upsell some small proportion of the audience to a paid version. The iPad and the iPhone are freemium models. They're built around free samples leading to a paid relationship through iTunes. The web is free. The app world tends to be freemium. The programming languages are being increasingly driven by Apple's Objective-C. And the universal language of HTML is increasingly going to things like XML, which drive APIs, machine-to-machine communications, and cross-platform apps like this.